the year 1960. A year that would come to be remembered as a pivotal moment in history, a time when the world stood at the brink of monumental change. As the clock struck midnight on New Year's Eve, ushering in the new decade, there was a palpable sense of excitement and anticipation in the air. People everywhere were filled with hope, eager to see what the future would bring. A year that began with hope and ended with anticipation. The streets were filled with celebrations, and newspapers carried headlines that spoke of optimism and progress. It was a time when anything seemed possible, and the world was ready to embrace the changes that lay ahead. The dawn of the 1960s brought with it a renewed sense of purpose and a collective desire to build a better future. The world stood on the cusp of change, a sense of possibility hanging in the air. In cities around the globe, people went about their daily lives, unaware of the seismic shifts that were about to unfold. The bustling streets and vibrant cityscapes were a testament to the energy and dynamism of the era. It was a time of rapid urbanization and technological advancement as society moved ever forward into the modern age. It was a year of dramatic shifts in the global landscape, groundbreaking cultural moments, and relentless struggles for equality. The civil rights movement gained momentum as people from all walks of life came together to demand justice and equality. Iconic cultural moments, from music to fashion, began to shape the collective consciousness, leaving an indelible mark on history. The world was changing and there was no turning back. This was a time when the Cold War cast a long shadow, its chilling effect felt from the halls of power to the homes of everyday citizens. The construction of the Berlin Wall symbolized the deepening divide between East and West, a physical manifestation of the ideological battle that defined the era. People watched the news with a sense of unease, aware that the world was teetering on the edge of conflict. The threat of nuclear war loomed large, a constant reminder of the fragile nature of peace. But amidst the tension, a vibrant cultural revolution was brewing, challenging norms and giving a voice to a new generation. Music, art and fashion became powerful tools of expression as young people sought to break free from the constraints of the past. The counterculture movement began to take shape, laying the groundwork for the social and political upheavals that would define the decade. It was a time of creativity and experimentation, as the youth of the 1960s forged a new path forward. In the United States, a young and charismatic senator named John F. Kennedy captured the nation's imagination, promising progress and a new frontier. His campaign speeches resonated with a generation hungry for change, and his vision of a brighter future inspired millions. Kennedy's message of hope and renewal struck a chord with the American people, and his youthful energy and optimism stood in stark contrast to the challenges of the time. His election marked a turning point in American history, ushering in an era of youthful idealism and a renewed focus on social justice. The inauguration of John F. Kennedy was a moment of great significance, symbolizing the dawn of a new era. Young people, inspired by Kennedy's call to action, became increasingly involved in social justice movements, advocating for civil rights, peace, and equality. The spirit of the 1960s was one of activism and engagement, as individuals sought to make a difference in their communities and the world at large. 1960 was a year of seismic shifts and profound transformations, a year that continues to resonate in the tapestry of our times. From the civil rights movement to the space race, the events of 1960 set the stage for the dramatic changes that would unfold over the next decade. It was a year of both triumph and tragedy, as the world grappled with the complexities of progress and the challenges of a rapidly changing society. The legacy of 1960 is one of resilience and determination, a testament to the enduring human spirit. It was a year that shaped the world we live in today. The impact of 1960 can still be felt in the present, as the social, political, and cultural shifts of that year continue to influence our lives. The struggles and triumphs of 1960 laid the foundation for the progress we have made, and the lessons learned during that pivotal year remain relevant to this day. As we look back on 1960, we are reminded of the power of hope, the importance of resilience, and the enduring quest for a better future. The 1960 U.S. presidential election was a pivotal moment in American history. It was a closely fought battle between two starkly different candidates, the young and energetic John F. Kennedy and the experienced but aging Richard Nixon. Kennedy, a Democratic senator from Massachusetts, represented a break from the past. He offered a message of hope and change, appealing to a nation eager for new leadership. His opponent, Vice President Richard Nixon, campaigned on his experience and his commitment to continuing the policies of the Eisenhower administration. The election was ultimately decided by a razor-thin margin, with Kennedy emerging victorious. His victory was seen as a triumph for a new generation of Americans, eager to embrace the challenges of the Cold War and the fight for civil rights. The Cold War reached new heights of tension in 1960. This period marked a significant escalation in the geopolitical struggle between the United States and the Soviet Union, as both superpowers vied for global influence and dominance. The ideological battle between capitalism and communism was not just confined to political rhetoric, but was manifesting in real-world confrontations and crises that had the potential to spiral out of control. The year began with the Soviet Union shooting down an American U-2 spy plane piloted by Francis Gary Powers. This incident was a major embarrassment for the United States, as it exposed their covert surveillance operations over Soviet territory. The U-2 spy plane was equipped with high-resolution cameras designed to gather intelligence on Soviet military capabilities, and its downing was a significant blow to American intelligence efforts. Heightening mistrust and fear between the two superpowers, the U-2 incident exacerbated the already tense relations. The Soviet Union used the incident to showcase American aggression and espionage, further justifying their own military buildup and defensive measures. This period saw an increase in propaganda from both sides, each portraying the other as the primary aggressor and threat to global peace. This incident, known as the U-2 crisis, sent shockwaves across the globe, leading to a significant diplomatic fallout. The planned Paris summit between President Eisenhower and Soviet Premier Khrushchev was derailed, as Khrushchev demanded an apology and the cessation of all U.S. spy flights over Soviet territory. The summit, which had been seen as a potential avenue for easing Cold War tensions, ended in failure, further deepening the divide between the two nations. Pushing the U.S. and the Soviet Union closer to the brink of war, the U-2 incident underscored the fragile nature of international relations during this period. Both superpowers were heavily armed and on high alert, with military strategies that included the possibility of preemptive strikes. The concept of mutually assured destruction, MAD, became a cornerstone of military doctrine, as both sides possessed enough nuclear weapons to annihilate each other several times over. Adding fuel to the fire, the construction of the Berlin Wall began in August, further dividing East and West Germany. The wall was a physical manifestation of the Iron Curtain that Winston Churchill had famously described, symbolizing the ideological divide between the communist East and the capitalist West. The Berlin Wall not only separated a city, but also became a powerful symbol of the Cold War itself, further dividing East and West Germany and symbolizing the growing ideological divide of the Cold War. The Berlin Wall was constructed to prevent East Germans from fleeing to the West. The East German government, backed by the Soviet Union, claimed that the wall was necessary to protect its citizens from the fascist elements in West Germany. However, it was clear to the world that the wall was a means to stop the mass exodus of East Germans seeking freedom and better opportunities in the West. The wall stood as a stark reminder of the human cost of the Cold War, with barbed wire, guard towers, and armed soldiers patrolling its length. Families were torn apart, and the once vibrant city of Berlin was split into two contrasting worlds. The western side thrived with economic prosperity and democratic freedoms, while the eastern side struggled under a repressive regime and economic hardships. Separating families and loved ones for decades to come, the Berlin Wall became a poignant symbol of the Cold War's impact on ordinary people. Stories of daring escapes and tragic losses emerged, highlighting the lengths to which individuals would go to seek freedom. The wall not only divided a city but also became a powerful reminder of the ideological battle that was being waged on a global scale. The ongoing arms race continued to escalate, with both superpowers investing heavily in the development of new and more powerful weapons. The race to achieve nuclear superiority led to a series of tests and demonstrations of military might, each side trying to outdo the other in a show of strength. This period saw the development of intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, and submarine-launched ballistic missiles, SLBMs, which could deliver nuclear warheads to targets across the globe. With both the US and the Soviet Union testing increasingly powerful nuclear weapons, the world watched in fear as the potential for a catastrophic nuclear war loomed large. The Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962 would later bring the world to the brink of nuclear conflict, but even in 1960, the threat was palpable. The doctrine of mutually assured destruction meant that any nuclear exchange would result in the total annihilation of both the attacker and the defender, creating a precarious balance of terror. The threat of nuclear annihilation loomed large, casting a shadow over everyday life. Governments conducted civil defense drills, teaching citizens how to duck and cover in the event of a nuclear attack. Fallout shelters were built, and the public was constantly reminded of the ever-present danger. This atmosphere of fear and uncertainty permeated every aspect of life, from politics to popular culture, creating a constant atmosphere of anxiety and uncertainty. The Cold War era was marked by a pervasive sense of dread. People lived with the knowledge that their lives could be irrevocably changed in an instant by forces beyond their control. This period of history was defined by the struggle for power and the ever-present threat of global conflict, shaping the world in ways that are still felt today. 1960 was a year of cultural ferment, as a new generation began to make its mark on the world. The post-war era had given rise to a sense of optimism and a desire for change. Young people, in particular, were eager to break away from the conservative values of their parents and explore new ways of thinking and living. This period saw the emergence of a vibrant youth culture that would come to define the decade. In music, a young Elvis Presley returned from military service and continued to captivate audiences with his electrifying performances. His return marked a significant moment in the music industry, as he brought with him a renewed energy and a fresh sound that resonated with the youth. Elvis's influence extended beyond music. He became a cultural icon symbolizing the rebellious spirit of the time. His style, charisma, and groundbreaking performances paved the way for future generations of musicians. In the world of cinema, Alfred Hitchcock's psychological thriller Psycho shocked audiences, pushing the boundaries of filmmaking and leaving a lasting impact on the horror genre. The film's innovative techniques, such as the use of suspenseful music and unexpected plot twists, set a new standard for horror films. Hitchcock's masterful direction and the film's chilling storyline captivated viewers, making Psycho a landmark in cinematic history. The movie's success also highlighted the growing appetite for more complex and daring narratives in film. This film, with its shocking scenes and suspenseful plot, became an instant classic, redefining the horror genre for a new generation. Its influence can be seen in countless films that followed, as directors sought to emulate Hitchcock's ability to create tension and fear. Psycho's legacy endures, as it continues to be studied and admired by filmmakers and audiences alike. The film's impact on popular culture is undeniable, cementing its place as one of the greatest horror films of all time. A new wave of writers, artists, and musicians challenged societal norms, expressing their disillusionment with the status quo and their yearning for a more just and equitable world. This creative explosion was fueled by a desire to address pressing social issues, such as civil rights, gender equality, and anti-war sentiments. The works produced during this time were often bold and provocative, reflecting the turbulent and transformative nature of the era. These artists and thinkers played a crucial role in shaping the cultural landscape of the 1960s. This cultural awakening would continue to grow in the coming years, culminating in the counterculture movement of the late 1960s. The counterculture movement, characterized by its rejection of mainstream values and embrace of alternative lifestyles, became a powerful force for change. It brought together diverse groups of people who shared a common vision of peace, love, and freedom. Festivals like Woodstock became iconic symbols of this movement, showcasing the music, art, and ideals that defined the era. The legacy of the 1960s counterculture continues to influence contemporary society, reminding us of the enduring power of cultural revolution.